Hi guys, Hamster here, and I thought I'd share this with you guys that what I'm currently doing right now. I'm putting together a lower, AR-15 lower, and I'm getting ready to install a Geissele trigger. And installing the Geissele trigger, it's pretty much like installing any mil-spec trigger. When you order the Geissele, this is what you'll get. You'll get a hammer with hammer spring installed already. And then you'll get the trigger with the disconnector already installed. And how's the disconnector being installed? They have made a little slave pin here that slides in and holds the disconnector to the trigger to make installation for you a little bit easier. Now this pin is a little different than the typical trigger and hammer pins you normally get. They provide you with high quality new pins. And these pins have grooves. The little slave pin they give you has no grooves and a smaller diameter, so it slides in and out very easily, but allows you to drop the trigger and disconnector in as one assembly. The instructions are pretty simple. They talk about where to. You get this nice little instruction sheet here. It has instructions on how to install it. They have videos on their website to show you how to install it. They give you a nice diagram here that shows you where to lubricate everything before you put it together. Pretty simple. They provide you with a small vial of grease to use to lubricate the parts. So just lubricate where it's supposed to be lubricated, and then pretty much assemble it. Now this lower is almost completely assembled. The safety selector is in. So this would be how you would probably find your AR-15, which is already working. Most of the components are going to be installed. You do not have to disassemble anything to drop this in. The only thing I need to do is take the selector switch, put it to fire, and that will give me enough room to drop in the trigger. So since the trigger spring's already installed, there's not much to do except drop this in and then push it down so the trigger spring flares up to the front, and then line it up with the holes in the lower receiver. So with the selector switch on fire, I should have enough room to drop the trigger in. Let's see what I'm doing here. Okay, trigger dropped in. Now I'm going to need to push it down and overcome that spring. And then take my first pin here and install it into the lower receiver. Once you get the trigger lined up, this should pretty much go right in. Let's see, it's kind of hard to do this on camera and watch what I'm doing at the same time. Let's see. Just take your time, work at it. You're going to have to there is some tension on here, so you're going to have to wiggle this trigger a little bit, because you got the two sides you got to line up with both sides of the receiver. So you just wiggle a little bit, and you can see here that I got the pin started and the slave pin is starting to push out the other side. Really good sign here. So I need to keep, I'm going to take a rubber face or soft mallet here, and I'm just going to lightly tap this through, and you can see that slave pin that they provided just starts coming right out the other side. Well, now it's pretty much came out, so I'm gonna have to work at aligning this a little bit better and then finish tapping in the pin. There you go. Just that spring tension is kicking up to one side after the slave pin comes out, so you just need to just rock the trigger slightly, and then the slave pin comes out, and then your trigger is installed. That's all there. That's fairly easy. Now the hammer comes already with the hammer spring on it. Now there's no slave pin on this, and these springs need to sit on top of the trigger pin. They actually sit in those two grooves that you see, and they actually capture that pin and keep it from walking. This pin is captured by the center groove. There's a little detent in here which catches that pin and then keeps the trigger itself riding against the the sides of the receiver, it keeps that pin from walking out. But these springs need to sit on top of the trigger pins, and that's what holds the trigger pin in place. Now this one's a little trickier because this is a full power hammer spring. So you're going to take just a little bit of effort, and you're going to have to push this down and overcome that spring. And then you're going to have to line it up. Let's see, let me get a better grip on that. I hope I'm not blocking the camera too much here, but I got to get this lined up. Okay, I'm cheating a little bit there. I'm using a punch to kind of hold things and help me out. And now I'm going to slide this pin in here. Now I'm kind of using the punch with the same idea as that little slave pin they provided to line up one side while I lined up the other. And then I can just gradually tap that right in. And there you go. Let's check it. Now when you dry fire this, don't let this strike the receiver. You can damage your receiver, so you need to catch that. There we go. Try it again. There we go. Okay, I'm going to switch to, I'm going to cock it, move it to safe. Good. Okay, now I'll try a trigger reset. Pull the trigger, hold the trigger, hammer goes forward, hammer goes back, locks in, release, trigger reset, fire. So there you go. You saw me install on camera a Geissele SSA trigger. Installs exactly the same way the mil-spec trigger installs. So this is not a tough project. This is something you should learn how to do, because eventually things will need to be replaced. All things need to wear out. Things need to be lubricated. Just lubricate the points where they tell you. They provide you with the grease, and then take your time. A small, like a 5/32 punch, and then a hammer. That's a soft-faced hammer. Can be a helpful hand. But you can see how I used a punch, and I used it like the little pin they provided. But this little pin makes dropping the trigger real easy, because the trigger and the disconnector go in as one unit. The spring on the trigger is not very tough. Just basically line it up, push your pin through, push the slave pin out, line up your hammer, and there you go. But that's the Geissele SSA. This is an outstanding trigger. Geissele makes some excellent triggers. They're a little bit more money than a mil-spec trigger, but I swear once you try one of these, you'll be amazed and you'll fall in love with them. That's the problem I have, so I'm addicted to the Geissele triggers now. But there, I hope that this turns out on camera, that this is something you can do yourself and something you should learn how to do. But don't be afraid to try changing your trigger. And if your AR is already assembled, don't worry about it. You don't have to tear it all apart. Drive your two pins out, take your trigger, take your hammer out, drop the Geissele in, and you're good to go. So that's the Geissele installation on camera. Thanks for watching.